Hello, in this video, I am going to present to you these three views: neoclassical, Keynesian, and modern views about the effectiveness of aggregate demand. That is, when an economy is experiencing, suppose, unemployment, then government can increase its own expenditures or reduce taxes in order to increase aggregate demand in the economy. That would lead to more production and unemployment will be reduced. We are going to now discuss the effectiveness of this policy to either reduce unemployment or reduce inflation. This is the basic macroeconomic equilibrium where aggregate demand equals aggregate supply at YE. Full employment level of output is not given in this diagram. So this country, if a full employment level of real GDP, that is the long run aggregate supply, if it is to the right of YE, it means this economy is experiencing unemployment. And if this long run aggregate supply curve lies to the left of YE, it means this country or economy is experiencing an inflationary gap. Now, first, according to neoclassical view, there is no concept of short-run aggregate supply that I showed you in this diagram. So according to neoclassical, the economy will always be at full employment level of real GDP. So according to this view, the market is competitive and efficient. Prices and wages adjust rapidly. By rapidly, I mean real quickly, not like in self-adjusting process that it will take time to reach to full employment equilibrium. It is instantaneous. So there's no concept of unemployment in neoclassical view. Prices and wages adjust rapidly to a surplus or shortage. The economy always remains at full employment. If we assume this, then notice what is the impact of increasing, what is the impact of aggregate demand, increase in aggregate demand in the economy. It will not impact real GDP at all. Notice when you will always be operating at full employment, and if government tries to increase its own expenditure, this increase in expenditure will simply lead to inflation, that is increase in price from P1 to P2. So according to neoclassical view, if federal government or provincial governments, if government expenditures increase, that would not reduce unemployment, but simply increase price levels. So the government policy is totally ineffective in this case. The other view, that is polar opposite of this view, argued that the economy is not always at full employment. Why? Because prices and wages are not flexible, are sticky, and prices and wages adjust slowly, not rapidly, instantaneously. Because you sign contracts, because you have a labor union, so it's not that way that wages are totally and prices are flexible. So the market is not very competitive due to the market power of big corporations and unions, labor unions basically. Prices and wages are sticky, adjust slowly. Government intervention is sometimes required to maintain full employment. So according to Keynesian view, the aggregate supply curve is first horizontal, that you can see the green horizontal line, and then becomes LAS curve. So it is possible, according to Keynesian view, it is possible that equilibrium is below full employment level of equilibrium. And in this case, government intervention is required. According to neoclassical view, government intervention is not required at all because we are already at full employment because of the flexibility in wages and prices. And therefore, government should not intervene, because if government intervenes, it simply raises price level, inflation, to lead to inflation. According to Keynesian view, no, the economy can be operating at less than full employment, and therefore government should intervene and do something, increase the expenditures. Because when government expenditures increase, you can see aggregate demand shifts to the right, which I have shifted here. So when I shifted aggregate demand to the right, notice Y, that is real GDP, is increasing from Y1 to Y2. So there's more production, less unemployment, more employment, and there's no impact on price. Price is still P1. There's no change. So these are the two opposite view. One says government intervention is not required. The other says government intervention is required. Then we have a modern view as well. Modern view argues, these economists argue, that basically both neoclassical and Keynesian, they both are correct. The impact or the effect or the efficacy of a change in aggregate demand actually depends on the conditions of the economy. So for example, in big recessions, that is when we have very low aggregate demand, huge unemployment, then the aggregate demand or the government intervention is required, and this intervention has a big effect on GDP. Look at these two demand curve, AD1 and AD2 curve, that are on the horizontal portion of the demand curve. So if you are at the initial stages, that because of the recession, the output is really well below full employment level of output, it means you have huge unemployment. In this case, Keynesian are right, because if government intervene and shifts this aggregate demand curve from AD1 to AD2, notice the real GDP is increasing without impacting prices. Price still is P1. But if the economy is close to the potential GDP, that is, economy is already operating near full employment level of output, like this Y1, that is still on the horizontal, but this new demand curve. Let me mark this one. So this demand curve. Now this demand curve, or this real GDP Y1 equilibrium GDP, is very close to full employment. So if you're very close, and if government intervene and try to eliminate this unemployment, what is unemployment? That is the difference between Y2 and Y1. So notice when aggregate demand shifts to the right to AD2, there's some inflation as well. So yes, real GDP is increasing, but you are also increasing your policy, or the intervention will also exert upward pressure on price level as well. So neoclassical are right in this case, that if the economy is already operating at full employment level, government intervention might be inflationary. So that's all as far as these three views are concerned. Thank you.